We grew these gooseberries last year from cuttings, and they're in 2-litre pots, as you can see. They're going in here now, and it's probably €100 worth of plants, and we're going to have a full bed of fruit production here, with both with the actual gooseberries themselves, but also with the wood which we can take to propagate further plants. Propagating plants is a powerful skill to have. How are you guys doing? For a quick update on our gardens here at Gardens for Life and at Birdland Cottage. And for the last few weeks now we've been flat out with planting all sorts of different little seedlings and tubers into our newly established garden beds, and also establishing new garden beds, of course, to make more space for more crops. And we'd been planting a lot of our bare root stuff too, and especially all of the new specimen plants that we've introduced into our woodchip island, which you can see behind me here. For example, here is an almond tree, this one here. We'll see how it goes. It's a special variety, and we have, of course, 2 of them because they need to pollinate each other, I believe. This winter we have bought in another 200 varieties of different various berries and fruits and tubers, and even seeds for annual but mostly perennial vegetables as well, such as the artichokes, which is one that we're going to start growing now too from seed upon recommendation from the Bull on Ark, because we actually had them there to eat and they're really good when you cook them right. So we're very excited about this 2021 growing season. I'll give you a walk around of our gardens and just show you what's new. And it won't be a full tour now, it'll be more of an update, and just to keep you guys informed. First of all, a quick shout out to those of you that have bought some plants from us in our spring plant sale. Thanks a million for supporting our efforts, and you're helping us establish more biodiversity and more varieties, which we will then be able to propagate later. We're going to do a sort of a workshop soon enough. We wanted to do it last year, but obviously COVID-19 didn't really help. We're just going to have an outdoor workshop, and it'll be in the format of a walk and talk, where we simply take you on a walk around our gardens, and we'll give you a detailed tour, and we'll tell you all about each of the elements and each of the different experiments that we have going on, and how we established each of these gardens and what worked and what didn't work so well. So you'll see exactly how we did that. Unfortunately, it won't be available by video just yet, but it will be at some point for those of you who don't live in Ireland. We'll give you more details on that happening a little bit later, and we want to get everything planted in the ground first before we prepare for the workshop. And of course we'd like to get a few more bits and bobs tied up and a few projects finished around here before we can show off the gardens too. A lot of work has been done around here for the last few months, and even years, of course, but especially in the last few months we got a lot done, in particular with the help of our great neighbours which we have here in Roscommon, and we're so grateful to be here and to have awesome and helpful neighbours. So thank you all for those of you who are watching. So the first thing we did was we actually finally got rid of the muck and the entrance of our gardens here, as you can see, and then we basically expanded the wall garden a little bit. We took up the plastic that was here as a path, which was actually just here, and we moved it on to the grass here. Just to widen the garden, we added some compost here and planted a whole bunch of tubers here. You can see the Mashua Blanca are coming up already, and our white truffle Jerusalem artichokes are also coming up, and the red fusio. There's a bit of rocket all the way over there by the wall. Yeah, we've tiger nuts planted here. There's potatoes, special varieties of potatoes, and some chard from last year left over. And here's a bit of elephant garlic. Just one bed for this year. That's all we could get our hands on so far. But we'll be doing more of that later. While this part of the garden's still to be established, and there'll be a bit of work to get this bit done yet. But it's all going to be beds all along the wall here. We need to kind of take care of the vegetation that's been there for probably about 3 or 4 decades. That's been taken over the wall, including the ivy and the blackberries and all the rest. Here's some red Russian kale that we're actually going to let go to seed. And we're going to have a nice seed crop from that. It might cross-pollinate with the Portuguese kale, which is perennial, and it's over there. We don't mind if it does, really, because it could only add good characteristics to the red Russian kale. We've had a cross before, which was pretty good, but not a whole lot different from the rest of them. Here's a newly established garden space, which our neighbour David helped us with the digger to actually move the compost, which saved us about 4 weeks worth of work. And yeah, basically here's some things planted already. We have different Jerusalem artichokes here and different varieties of mashua and some Portuguese kale. Never got around to the onion sets yet, but that's salt bush here, which is a wonderful vegetable. I like to nibble at it when I'm out here. It's a very nice flavour. And that apple tree may have been buried a little deep beyond the graft, I guess. We'll have to have a look at that. These brush piles we'll keep them, but we're going to move them and bring them into one big brush pile when we get a chance. And we're going to keep it as a big wildlife pile, same as we have the ones here in our wood chip island. Here's some yarrow growing. By the way, this is actually grown from two 2-litre potted plants from yarrow. This is the wild variety, the wild white yarrow, and it's the Achillea milfolia, because it's also known as thousand leaf. That's the Latin name of it, and it's very good in salads actually, and it's really healthy as well. Also, it prevents it clots your blood. If it's also known as soldier's woundwort. So yeah, that's a really useful plant to have. Here's some horseradish, which is a new variety that we got of the bull on ark. Some garlic that's already 2 years old now. We'll leave that there in our perennial gardens. Yeah, so we've planted a whole bunch of new plants here in our wood chip island, including new varieties of gooseberry and currants and raspberries and strawberries, all sorts of different berries, and various fruiting bushes as well, and aronia. We have 2 more varieties of aronia now. This is one here, look, it's flowering, and some fruit trees, some all sorts of different new bits and pieces have been planted here. And we're turning this wood chip island from an annual vegetable garden into, slowly but surely, in the last 3 years, or sorry, in the last 2 years, into a perennial garden with extremely low maintenance. As you can see, there's no weeds here where the wood chips are. Very few of them pop up, and we can always top them up too to stop the weeds from growing through. And as you can see here, we do keep plants like the dandelion. It's a very useful plant, and it's edible too, and it's an insectary plant, attracting beneficial insects to the garden, same as the rhubarb. Some of our rhubarb plants, we just let them flower, and they're very useful too to bring in the insects. We do need to get them into our gardens to keep a certain amount of biodiversity, or to increase biodiversity in order to keep a balance. As you can see, our currants are absolutely loaded this year. So this is our greenhouse here. This is one of our two greenhouses. This is the larger one, and we have a plant sale on at the moment, so that's why there's a few plants in here actually drying at the moment. Let me show you. And these ones are actually just drying, so in order to reduce the weight, so that we can send them at the minimum of postage with our courier. If you're interested to see how we actually package our plants in these boxes, please check out our video. We have a video on our website and on YouTube and on Facebook too of how we package our plants for our online nursery, and actually it has proven to be a fairly popular video, to our surprise. So and if you're interested in a few plants, we have a link below too. If you're interested, you can go to our website too and just go to our shop. And so here, this is our micro indoor food forest, which hasn't been finished, but it's halfway there. We're going to fill this area and the paths with compost, and then we're going to make them out wood chips so that we don't lose as much moisture. We're going to basically add wood chips across the whole area, and we'll make a video about that too when we get around to it. But we're going to plant up a lot of nice fruit bushes in here and fruiting vines like the hardy kiwis. Here are some apios plants actually coming up, and we're going to give them an opportunity to grow and climb. Here are some Chinese yam that are just about popping up. Here are some of the figs. We have various different varieties and a lovely Spanish thyme, which is a wonderful aroma. There's a goji berry, which we didn't get any fruits off yet. And here's a few yacons. Here are some more figs. Some tubers we actually start off in pots because they're frost sensitive. So you're better off to actually start them off like this in a greenhouse on tables in the early spring. And at least for the first 4 to 6 weeks or so, just to give them a head start, and then plant them out when the last chance of frost is gone. They're not as sensitive as some of the other crops like pumpkins and the likes and courgettes, but still you don't want them to die back and then having to re-establish their initial leaves again. So this is actually all mashuas, this whole side here. And the Mashua Blanca seems to be always out early, and you can see they're kind of entangling with each other already because they want to climb. So you can see there's a bit of frost damage actually here on the side, and that's what happens. The plant just gets knocked back and it just grows again. It recovers. Yeah, a few ochas and some madeiras and lots of bits and pieces. We planted a good few of them out directly. These are the ochas. You'll be familiar with that shape by now, I'd say, if you're watching these videos, because we like ocha around here. Yeah, it's kind of like clover, of course. And by the way, the leaves actually fold in when it gets too warm, when the plant gets too dry. Our last about 2 videos ago, we had like a video of the gutter which we attached to our greenhouse, which is this one here, and I'll just show you here. It seems to have worked very well so far, but we've actually just entered our dry season, even though it's hard to believe that in Ireland we actually have a dry season now. For the last 5 or 6 years in the springtime, it usually hasn't rained much for about a period of 1 to 2 months actually, and so we're happy enough with every rain shower we get, because we're capturing some of that water with our gutter, which is attached here with bits of wood. We have a video on that too if you're interested in seeing that, and some silage tape, which hopefully will last quite a while. We don't know, but the polytunnel repair tape would have been better. and then it goes into these water tanks here. So that's how we catch the water. And we still didn't get around to making doors for this greenhouse yet, but it's actually okay because we don't mind having the ventilation and keep the air circulating quite a bit so that we don't get any mold built up in there. And it is super dry in there. We do have to water it every once in a while, which is why we can't wait to actually have the middle bit done with the indoor food forest, or indoor forest garden I should call it, because we'd like to cover it with wood chips so we don't have to water things as much. Now once the tubers are out, and once all the tubers have been planted out into the garden, we then can use those tables in the greenhouse to start more plants and germinate seeds, basically, just because the greenhouse is the obvious place to do it because it's warm enough. So here, this is beside the greenhouse. We brought the compost right up to the greenhouse in order to get a bit of warmth from the greenhouse too, and to stretch the plastic down a little bit more, and planted a whole row of pumpkin plants alongside of the greenhouse. Hopefully it will be okay for frost, but we might have to cover them because this is only the 1st of May now and it's a bit early to be planting them out. Some people would say probably about a month too early for pumpkins, but we like to take our chances around here and do a little experiment. Maybe the greenhouses, the heat it builds up during the day might be just enough to stop the frost from harming those plants if it goes to -1 or 2. If it goes any lower than that, I won't give any guarantees. So here, this is our brand new garden which has just been established, and we've already planted up about 16 beds here with all sorts of different tuber goodness. For example, a lot of ochas, some ullucus and some mashuas. And we also have some Madeira vines planted out directly to see how they do. Last year we only had them indoors. Let's see how they do out here. Madeira vine is a wonderful leaf crop, which is kind of like spinach but very thick leaves, and we like to snack on them even when we're out here. Some special potato onions and some Egyptian walking onions, and we have yet to establish this bit here, which is the next thing to do. And one of the things we'd like to give you guys eventually a course, or I wouldn't call it a course, even a workshop, a mini course on, is how we actually establish these kind of garden beds without actually digging up the soil underneath, which you can see here. This is the grass that was grown here originally. Of course, in the summer it goes up to about here and it spreads seeds everywhere. So we're happy to have this bit covered now too, so that we no longer have to worry about it spreading seeds out into our pots over in the nursery. But yeah, we'll definitely have a series of workshops, and please do let us know in the comments if you're interested in that type of thing. And we'd like to produce some more detailed content, as in premium level content, and we'll charge a small fee for it, just to compensate for our time into making it. Here is another pile of compost. This is fairly fresh, as you can see here. There's a bit of straw yet in it, but we'll just leave that in a pile for a few weeks, maybe a month or two, and then we can use it. We can start using it. What you can see here is already about 8 months old now, this compost here. Watch this. So it's already pretty well established, especially with the soil life, already inhabiting it and using it as a home. The slugs definitely have been getting at these, but look at that. Well, that's definitely frost damage on our courgettes, so I better put cloches on them in the form of 5-litre water canisters with the lid on and the bottom cut out. This video has already gotten longer than I expected to be. Of course, these things happen. It can happen quite quickly and easily, but I think I'll make another separate video about our little gardens at home, including the pizza garden and the horseshoe garden and the front garden. Of course, we have projects and making of videos and update videos on those too on our website if you're interested in seeing all those. They're more kind of home scale gardens anyway, just to show you what can be done on a small scale, even if you do live in a housing estate, for example, or if you have just a tenth of an acre or maybe a quarter acre or more. We're just using what space we have at home and each of the corners of our little acre there. So this little area here, which we call our front garden, is halfway between the road and the shelter belt, and we're going to turn it into another wood chip island. If any of you have seen our wood chip island, it's basically just a layer of compost with no dig. Basically you kill the grass, then you put the compost on top, maybe 6 inches, and then you put another 6 inches of wood chips on top, which is exactly what we're going to do here in this space. And just to keep it extremely low maintenance, and you can just plant herbaceous perennials, berry bushes and fruit trees and that kind of stuff into it, and some flowering shrubs too. So this area actually used to be completely covered in blackberries or briars, and there was really no point in trying to go at that by hand. While I had the digger in, we just basically got our little driveway done, our little car park, and we basically just kind of scraped the briars back this way and covered it with compost then afterwards. This is actually just about 2-month-old mushroom compost. It's not bad. It's definitely worth planting into already. You can see there's still a few bits of straw in it, but that'll improve over time. It was fairly steamy when we actually put it out here. As you'll see here, we will make a full video just on this area or this front garden, and of course we're going to plant probably 500 individual plants here, including whatever kind of plants we have that we propagated already from the previous years, and a whole lot of new berry bushes are going in here, and fruit trees too, and we have a few walnut and heartnut trees too that are going in here. And yeah, we'll give you more detail on this area at a later point, but for this tour, that's all we're going to show you. So this is our shelter belt here. You can see the road is over here and the shelter belt is right here. This has been planted actually 3 years ago, which was planted before we even started gardening here. And you can see even some sticks like that will actually have already turned into fairly substantial trees, which were blocking the wind from the westerly side, which is over that side. And we're going to cover in time, we're going to tear out these blackberries and we're going to cover this with either cardboard or plastic and kill off the grass, and just cover it with wood chips in order to just not have any grass growing into our garden beds basically. It's a fair old area. I think it's going to be at least as big as the wood chip island, which is actually right over there, if you can see it. Already some fruit trees planted here. There's a plum tree, there's a pear tree and an apple tree. They do get pollinated by our other trees, which are over there. So don't worry, I know we have just one of each, but don't worry, they will bear fruits, hopefully so. Maybe for the first time this year, or maybe next year. Usually plums take a few years anyway to start fruiting, but apples usually start fruiting after 1 or 2 years. So on the other side of the shelter belt, let's just go through here. We have our new garden, and we have already started to expand it with some plastic just to kill off the grass in advance of putting down actual compost. So you can see it's going to go all the way out to there. So it'll give us a bit of extra planting space. Probably another extra maybe 20 beds of 5 meters and 75 centimeters wide. And these are the kind of beds we're talking about. Look, the poppy's out. It's a Californian poppy. I planted lots of different bits and pieces here. Berry bushes, vegetables, flowering shrubs, a few bits and pieces here and there, even orange mullein over there. Can't wait to see what that looks like. And some ordinary yellow or great mullein over here. and a few new varieties of elderberry and buddleia. Yeah, our nursery belt could do with a bit of tidying up as well, and recycling of pots. For example, these new variety of buddleia didn't actually take over the winter, and the jostaberries are coming along. They were only rooted cuttings from last year, and they've been potted before the winter. We nearly sold out of the golden yarrow, and a lot of the other stuff for that matter. Plenty of Californian poppies yet. Lemon balm is such an awesome herb. It's also really good for the wildlife when it flowers in the summer. Nearly out of Jacob's ladders, believe it or not. And we have some roses coming online too, shortly. Few zebra mallows left. But yes, indeed, in this area here is going to be tidied up. Take a look at this. We had a frost here just in the first week of May. -4, I believe it was actually. And in some places, look what happened to the mashuas. Normally they're kind of fairly frost hardy. They actually got knocked back. But some of them did okay, as you can see here. But yeah, no, we might have to see. They'll come back though, don't worry. And the Jerusalem artichokes are cold hardy enough. They'll be okay until it really gets cold in the autumn or early winter. Once all of the garden spaces are planted up, the next job will be to actually pot up all of our rooted cuttings that we started in the winter time in the form of hardwood cuttings. And the next thing after that would be to simply take the new growth in the spring, the green wood or softwood, and make cuttings that we can then root, and we can use those then to make more plants for the coming season. I hope you enjoyed that little tour of our big garden. We'll give you another tour of our home gardens, which are at our house, and it won't be quite as detailed as the upcoming workshop. We'll take just a very small number of people on a tour around all of our gardens, and we'll explain to you in detail how it all was established and what worked and what didn't work. So if you're interested in that, please get on our mailing list and sign up. It's free to sign up to our mailing list, and you can just get updates from us every once in a while. We just send out maybe a couple of emails per month just to give you an idea of what's going on or when we have new content out. And we'd like to thank you very much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed it, please give us a thumbs up. We would really appreciate that, and it would help our video to get out there and be seen. Thanks a million again, and we'll see you at the next one. Bye bye.